Hey, thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. I am Dave Valente. Happy Easter to all those in attendance tonight. I appreciate you joining us on the Political Deep Dive. Joined as always by Dan the Man Fishman, the
What's
Danegade.
happening, Dave? Merry Easter.
Merry Easter. Happy happiness.
Happy happiness.
Yes.
The resurrection.
Yeah, I resurrected a ham in my smoker today.
Nice.
You know, I took
Well,
of
I tell
the
you what,
holy
I
sacrament of
opened my oven to find out that my dough had risen. So
dough has risen. Yes. Uh, no, it's happy holidays to happy holiday to all those who celebrate.
did
Happy
you
Trans
ever
Day of Visibility as well.
did you what right? Happy Trans Day of Visibility. Did you ever do an Easter egg hunt?
I have done an Easter egg hunt.
Me too.
Back in the day, it was like real eggs my mom would hide, and
Oh,
then it became you didn't find all the eggs because it started stinking.
that's
Like, what is
funny.
that smell?
So
Oh,
you
it's an
hid them
Easter
you
egg
hid them
from
in the
3 weeks
house?
ago.
Wait, she hid them in the house?
Hid them in the house. We did the indoor Easter egg hunt, and not only it wasn't just real eggs, but she would remember back in the day when pantyhose came in those eggs,
Yes.
those plastic eggs. That
Yep.
was another source of Easter eggs for us. Um, and yeah, so uh, the hollow eggs were the ones you wanted because they usually had candy or cash or whatever in
Oh,
them. So
candy eggs are the best. That's actually specifically where I was going to go. Is that
yeah,
as a elementary school child in Galveston, Texas, the parents, the PTO, would populate the park next door with candy eggs and stuff like that. And then we take the whole elementary school over there. We just run. I mean, there was like thousands and thousands of eggs. It was phenomenal. Like I always think about like those candied eggs as being like just the tastiest. Hard shell, marshmallow on the inside. Some Cadbury eggs, of course,
oh
which,
yeah,
you know, I mean, they do look a little sketcy, but they're so delicious. They're
oh they
unbelievable
are, but they are like 3,000 grams of
calories
sugar.
each. Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
oh
they're
yeah,
like, oh
absolutely.
my
No, I
god,
mean it's
straight
not a good
diabetes.
plan to have well behaved children. You can take on an Easter egg hunt before at elementary school, but it was something that I really enjoyed a lot, and so man, I appreciate people inviting me to take part of Easter in that way.
Yeah, yeah. But so this week is a free for all. So we'll have a couple topics. We'll talk about, of course, the Baltimore Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing here in a little bit. We'll also and thanks for joining us, Sean. I appreciate that. Anesthesia Tech's Day as well today. So
Yep,
if you know
something that
somebody
we've
in the
all had
anesthesia tech,
experience with recently.
yeah, yeah. If you know an anesthesia tech, uh,
Yep,
give them some love today
yep.
because they richly deserve it. Um,
Sean,
but as a
yeah,
free
go ahead.
for all day,
Well, let's talk Baltimore Bridge because
well, hold on
that's
a sec. Before we do, the first thing we do with free for all days is our country, our world. We are doing
oh
Tuvalu.
Tuvalu.
Tuvalu. This was actually AJ's choice, and AJ's not with us tonight. She was a little bit under the weather. So, yep, AJ's off. Hey, good to see you, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
But
Hey,
she
Sean.
chose Tuvalu because it was a because it's rapidly disappearing country. So,
Right,
all right,
right.
so let's do our Tuvalu feature here.
All right. I'm ready for it.
All
Oh,
right, so the
British
island.
protectorate.
What's that?
It's a British
Yep,
protectorate.
former British protectorate. Tuvalu is island nation in South Pacific. This is the airport where every day at 5 o'clock the locals of Funafuti, the capital, gather because they only get like 4 flights a week. So they've used the airport as a playground. It is an island nation, so you see island culture. Kind of your traditional stuff that you see throughout the Oceania. There is a women's weaving market there in Funafuti. So if you want to buy some local goods, I will say you have to bring cash because they do not take credit cards or debit cards in Tuvalu. The
Is that
Tuvalu
because
is
you don't have a
11.
connection?
They do have a minor internet, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
As a 9 atoll nation, and atolls are formed out of volcanoes, it is rapidly sinking. It's about 2 meters off the sea level, is their average height of the islands, and they are sinking with climate change. The sea levels are rising, and they're already having issues with sometimes the sea goes above the island there and washes out, not wash out the airport, but it affects the airport. Once the airport's cut off, they're really cut off. I mean, they can do boat transportation, but they're really cut off, and it signals a chance that that island will um, they're going to have to figure out what to do with the population of the island. And the island, they're actually in the process of negotiating what comes next, because unless there's some kind of reversal of what's going on with climate change, the caps are going to melt. The it's the basically the ice in the water that's the main concern that will raise the sea levels above that 2 meters, and this country will completely disappear. So, what happens with Tuvalu? Do they move to another country? Does another country break off a little bit of territory for the people of Tuvalu to come and
Well,
reconstitute their nation?
they are part of the Commonwealth,
They are, yes.
so they can all go to England
They could go to England. I don't
or
know
United
that. I
Kingdom,
mean, yeah, I mean, I think the more likely you would see is
Australia.
perhaps Australia or New
Australia.
Zealand. Australia.
Good on you, mate.
They're actually their currency is pegged to the Australian dollar. It's
I got a dingo in my
Tuvaluan
buggy.
dollar. What's
Yeah,
that?
I was just saying, I was repeating all the Australian phrases I know.
Oh, the
Dingo took my baby.
dingo took my baby. Um, if I live, I mean, if you're a Pacific Islander, I mean, they live on a heavily fish-based diet. Um, I don't know that going to England would be the best thing for them. Like, that's a culture shock. But they also want to. Their thing is they want to preserve their culture and they want to preserve their country. So, I could see like Australia breaking off a little bit of the Western Australia and letting them settle there. Um, but it's a very small population. It's only 11,000 people in the country.
Right.
They've got a parliamentary democracy. It's, of course, as a Commonwealth nation, the King of England is the head of state, but they have a prime minister. They don't have any political parties in the country. Mostly their political alliances are based off of family slash clan and island,
Yeah.
um, uh, island relations type thing. So it's, politics is very local there. There are 16 members of their parliament. Oh, it's a unicameral parliament, so only one house. And the interesting thing is, if you did one representative at this point, it's one representative for like every 727 residents. If you did that in the United States, you know how many representatives we'd have in the lower house?
How many per person?
One for every 727 residents.
We would have 500,000 members.
Almost, yes, 453,297
Dude,
representatives.
that's pretty good estimated math.
That is a really good estimated guess. I'm pretty impressed, man. I mean, 330 million people in the United
Well,
States.
the secret is I'm not wearing shoes, so I was able to count on my toes to do the math.
Were your pants unzipped?
No comment.
I count in 21s.
So, what's interesting too, we talked about the fact that Tuvalu is a bunch of different islands.
Yeah.
They might not all go under, at least.
Well, I mean, the average height above sea level is 2 meters. And you look at all the videos that I've looked at, their islands are, they're really just
Yeah.
Atolls are very skinny. They're, I mean, about the width of a road to begin with.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of room there to begin with, and they're already getting hit by like king tides, sweep over the islands right now as it is. So
Yeah.
if
You know, James, I didn't really eat any specifically Easter food. I did a chuck steak in the slow roaster,
oh
but that's not really Easter. Um, what else do I have? I have popcorn because I'm an adult and I can eat whatever the hell I want for dinner.
okay,
Um, and yeah, no, I didn't really eat any Easter food per se. I wish I'd gone to the store on Saturday. I should have brought home a chocolate bunny, but I didn't think of it.
well, it's tomorrow is half price Easter candy day, so
I'm very excited about that. You know,
yeah.
just going back and thinking about those things, I there are other islands in the British Protectorate. If these guys really want island living, now maybe they want whatever, but St. Helena is desperate for people to come there. Uh, and like
Then
I
in the
know because
middle
I've
of the
sort of,
Atlantic.
right. It's in the Atlantic instead of the Pacific, but it's very high up, so it's never going to go under, and it's still
Oh no, it's
island
never going to
living.
go under. It's a lot colder than uh
Yeah,
than the middle of the Pacific Islands. So
definitely true.
it would be a
On
culture
the other
shock.
hand, I guess
Um,
it's well, it's one of those things. There are other islands available that a lot of people could go to, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
well, I mean, they're not going to go to the Bikini Atoll.
No, no.
A little.
I just watched Oppenheimer. I
Oh,
don't know if you've
how
watched
was
that or
it?
not yet. Uh, it's good. It's really good. I know the story really well
Hmm.
because I'm a huge fan of Richard Feynman. So like, I knew all the stuff. Like I knew when the guy who was the spy came on the screen. I'm like, oh, that's the spy. And like I knew the other guys. Like Teller comes in and does the magic tricks. And just kidding. Edwin Teller, father of the H bomb. Um, but but it was still interesting to see. And then sort of the sort of the weirdness of communism and all these people, including Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer wasn't ever a member of the Communist Party, but he went to intellectual parties, and intellectual parties in the 20s, people talked about communism. This big communist
Yeah,
revolution that had happened, and a lot of people were incredibly optimistic about communism. And it's easy to be optimistic about communism when you've never seen it in practice.
sure.
Once it gets into practice, then it's clear that communism is actually terrible and kills people. But
Yeah.
if you've never seen it in practice, you think, well, we could all voluntarily live together in a commune because all of us started off living in a communist system, even you, Dave. Because, what's the communist ideal? From each according to his ability, to each according to his means. That's what happens in your family when you grow up. You're
Yeah.
a kid, and your parents provide for you because you don't have the ability to do it. You don't have the means. So, from each according to their ability. And then, you go through life, and there's a point in time where your parents don't support you, don't take care of you. And then, if you're very, very lucky, there'll be a point in time where you get to take care of your parents and return the favor. So,
Exactly.
we all agree that communism works on a very small scale with people that you love and trust. It just doesn't work for like a whole
Well,
country.
it's the whole idea of consent. It's the whole idea of trust. I mean, you have to have like explicit trust in the people to take, and we've seen family units break down. So I mean, there's plenty of reasons not to trust even within the family unit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it is the basic. You could say it's basically either communist or socialistic that the family relations are, but um, yeah, as a governing philosophy, definitely lacks.
I want to go to Sean's in Maine to get tacos.
Oh,
Sean, I have to ask, what will be in the tacos? Let us know because I do like
there's a
tacos.
Maine lobster truck that's going to be down the road for me on Tuesday, I think.
Interesting.
So,
I don't eat lobster, I'm fascinated by it, though. Right?
I
The
love
idea that something
lobster.
could have been, just a tear of prison food. Right? Lobster was so prevalent. In fact, people will tell you lobster populations are way up right now. If you haven't done it, definitely go to. I believe Sean is from Lewiston. I'm not 100% sure about that, Craig. Um, but one of the great national parks, in fact, I believe the second most visited national park in the United States is Acadia in Maine. And it is absolutely worth it. It's stunning. You can't, you have to book your campsites over a year in advance if you want
Yeah,
to. If you want to glamping, Bar Harbor is,
I'm
filled with
I'm a
really.
glamping type. I don't like bugs. I'll just put it out there. I don't like bugs.
So,
So
so you won't have as much problem in Maine because it's cold.
sure.
But you probably would prefer the glamping, and you'd like some of the other things they've done, which is, for example, the biggest mountain there. They put a road in so you can drive right up to the top of it and get
There you
out and look
go.
at it. And then there are some what were at one point in time athletic hikes and climbs, and back in the 20s or the last 20s, 100 years ago, they just put in metal ladders on the side of them, so you just climb up the ladder and you're right up at the top of the hike, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but you also get to tour the local fisheries where there's a lot of rockland. All right, the local lobster harbor thingamabobbies, whatever you would call them. And it was interesting the last time we were there, they talked about the fact that lobster population is booming right now. Uh,
Good.
and there's a suspicion that it has something to do with climate change and the end of fish.
Well,
Fishing populations are way down, and so a
the
lot of
drawn
stuff comes
butter
through. Huh?
the drawn butter population should be going up too.
The
Mhm.
drawn butter population is way up to go along with it. Um, anyway, so that's all I got to say. People should make an
No, I
effort to make
definitely
a
want to
trip.
go to Maine.
Yeah, Maine is vacation land. Uh, there's Moosehead Lake in the middle of the state, which is amazing. Uh, Stay away from the moose, though, like take pictures and stuff. But moose kill more animals than any other animal, and more humans than any other animal in the United
Oh
States.
yeah.
Incredibly
Yeah,
dangerous.
don't fuck with the moose. Moose will.
Wonderful blueberries in the area. You can't go wrong with them. They're fantastic. Everybody should go to Maine. Maine is better than Tuvalu. I'll say it right now.
Oh, those are fighting words. No, I definitely want to go to Maine. That's one of the few states
Yep.
that I haven't been
Maine's,
to yet.
yeah, it really is fantastic. It's a drive, it's a big state. And I think we're going to no, I was thinking, Sean, I was thinking of Cadillac Mountain, though, in, uh, in Acadia. There's a road to the top of that, too. But yes, Mount Washington is the biggest.
Yeah.
Um, the main, I don't remember what I was going to say. Let's talk politics. Should we talk Baltimore?
Yeah, let's talk Baltimore.
All right.
So Tuesday morning, 1:30 a.m.
Yep.
Um, a ship leaving Baltimore's port lost power twice and drifted into the way of a pylon of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, striking it. Um, they were able to get word out and they were able to shut traffic off to the bridge, but unfortunately, there were several construction workers on the bridge at the time. And the bridge, I mean, it just disappeared. I mean, it was there 1 minute and
All
like
collapsed.
it was like pickup sticks. Like it
Yeah, it
just
was.
gone.
Now, I will say, having driven over that bridge and some of the other bridges in in Maryland, man, they really do build their bridges delicately here. Uh, I will say, man, that's a nightmare too. Like when I drive across these long bridges, I'm always like, oh. One of the interesting things to come out of it was they talked about the fact that it happened late at night, and that certainly helped things a lot.
Yeah.
And then the team on board the boat radioed the shore
Yes.
and got the cops to shut down the road, although they didn't get the road crew off the road, which is unfortunate. But the interesting thing to me, a bunch of interesting things. Firstly, the boat itself lost power, which is a major flaw in the
Yeah.
idea of I don't need tugboats anymore because I've got these thrusters that I can use to guide the ship. Because, if one tugboat loses power, you don't have to worry about things so much. And it wouldn't have been that much of a deal to have the tugs get them past the bridge.
Yeah.
Um, the the other thing that's, I think, at least interesting about it is that how immediately so many crazy stories sprung up. Right, Fox led with it being a potential terrorist act. Um, a lot of people blamed it on, there's a great post on Twitter where somebody blamed it on the fact that the company has DEI
DEI.
policies.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they said, oh, yeah, it's clearly diversity that caused this accident. Which
Wait,
those things
it's
are
a
just,
Singaporeese. Okay,
yeah,
it is a Singaporeese ship that was
yeah.
crewed by a multinational crew. Absolutely, but almost every ship is crewed by a multinational crew.
But it
Going
also had a
to
local pilot
Sri
on board,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah, an
mean,
harbor pilot. And
yeah, exactly.
notice the the vile rhetoric around immigrants,
Yeah, exactly.
and every one of the people killed in this thing was an immigrant working
Yeah.
to patch the roads to
For the
get
state,
them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Fixing the roads. They were actually
no,
libertarians.
no, but I
It-
mean, it's like
yeah,
they
it's
yeah,
it's
it's just
crazy on a bunch of different levels. The one other thing that's really interesting about it is, you know, there was a mention about the Jones Act and
Mhm.
talking about that, and it's interesting because uh, so the harbor is closed for. It looks like they're going to get it open pretty quickly now, but it's probably closed, at least until May.
Yeah,
Uh, and as a result, a lot of the boats that were hoping to come in there, and for people who aren't familiar with, big ships coming into port, you don't just show up at the port and say, "Hey, I'm here today. Let's unload." It's a very well scheduled out process. Um, so all these boats are trying to fit into other places, and the nearest ports are to the north, Philadelphia, which is really close to capacity, and to south, Norfolk, which doesn't have anywhere near the capacity to
yeah,
handle Baltimore stuff. So people are coping. As we saw, during COVID, the supply lines aren't as fragile as we think they are. They're only fragile in terms of maintaining the fact that you can get everything right away.
yeah. I
In,
mean,
in COVID, go ahead.
we've seen issues. I mean, immediately gas jumped in our local area, um, because for the most part, if you live on the I-70 corridor, where I'm at, I-70 and I-81 corridor, most of our stuff came from Baltimore,
Yeah, me
our
too.
goods and stuff. So, yeah, we have seen a spike in prices. We've seen a spike in gas, and I think that's kind of regulating back down. But just off the initial shock, but yeah, of course gas companies will take any news to jack up the prices 30, 40 cents a gallon
Well, as
whenever they
if there's a
can.
run, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
funny because we talk about surge pricing. Gasoline has always had surge pricing,
Hmm.
right? If there's a line, the price goes up. It's actually not a bad way to do it, in my opinion. If they could, just detect the number of cars waiting to get gas and adjust the prices that for, then, you know, you would trim down lines, but also when
Better
there's
stay
no
away from
line.
my baconator.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Um, So the one other thing I have to say, of course, there's a joke involved. It's
Oh,
Francis Scott Key, and famously the author of the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner. Also, famously, that song contains some. I wouldn't really call them racist lyrics. I would call them unfortunate lyrics. Really written of the time. He talks about slavery, but the Bible talks about slavery a lot too. I wouldn't say don't read the Bible because it talks about slavery. And it's not like saying, oh, we should all go out and get slaves. Anyway, Francis Scott Key, Star Spangled Banner. One day, a boy comes to America, New York City, comes from Puerto Rico, and his name is Jose. And growing up in Puerto Rico, he's a huge baseball fan. And he decides he wants to go to Yankee Stadium, see the Yankees play. Goes there. He finds out that Yankee Stadium has been torn down and they built a new stadium. But he goes to the new Yankee Stadium and they're like, hey, sorry, kid, the Yankees, they sell out. We don't have anything available. And he's like, oh, please. I came all the way from Puerto Rico. He's like, oh, what's your name, kid? He says, my name is Jose. Like, okay, let me see what I can do. He's like, you know what, kid? I got a standing room ticket for you. You're going to stand right next to the flag. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. He's like, so the kid lets the kid in, takes him to the flag. He says, all right, you be here and you can just stay here, watch the game. It's like, awesome. Thank you. So then, wonderful game. Game ends. The kid's walking out. The ticket gatekeeper says to him, hey, Jose, how'd you like the game? He's like, oh, I loved the game. And everybody was so polite. He's like, at a Yankees game, people were polite. He's like, before the game started, everybody turned to me and said, Jose, can you see?
I knew where that was going, but yes.
Yeah. It's all about the delivery.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Francis Scott Key Bridge and the tunnel and the channel. The channel, I think, will be cleared by May. The bridge is going to have to be rebuilt, and they can't do a tunnel because they need it to transport hazardous materials, which are banned from tunnels.
Yep, you can't do hazmats in tunnels. So anything that comes off a ship that has hazmat on it, you can't transport it through the tunnels there.
It'll be interesting to see what they can do, though, now with the big modern technology and building a bridge across that span.
I'm wondering what the impact is going to be to our. I mean, there are a number of suspension bridges across the United States.
Right.
How that's going to change with regulations. I mean, you've been on the bridge that goes across the Chesapeake, the
Bay
long
Bridge.
one. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, that one's a nightmare.
I like going across bridges. I remember, seeing a bunch of posts on Tuesday morning. I hadn't heard the news. We're like, this is why I fear going across bridges. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with bridges? But yeah, it was. I'm expecting there to be a rash of legislation, regulation that is going to see us revamping all of the, requests for more money to pay for more infrastructure and all that stuff. Again, never let a good crisis go to waste, and they're going to definitely use this to do that. But yeah, it was a tragedy. It was, yes, it was avoidable, but I do think that, I mean, shit happens sometimes.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect now, where our technology is, there's a whole bunch of things that you could do differently that would make a lot more sense. Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean, honestly, like somebody was saying, oh, there are places now where they actually have sort of underwater trains that pull the boats out of the harbor. But they're on tracks, so they can't go. They can't get lost or anything like that. They attach a line to the front and the back of the boat. They just drive it out. and then the train comes back, and pretty easy, cheesy to do.
Yeah.
And then there's no human element. All sorts of good things about it. I don't think they're going to do that here in Baltimore,
Yeah, I was
but it's
wondering how
interesting
much that
nonetheless. The
cost.
one other interesting thing about it is that there's an enormous Amazon fulfillment center right across the Francis Scott Key Bridge. But man, Amazon doesn't get stuck up with supply channel issues. One way or another, they're going to figure it all out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that there's at least one facility here close. Um, yeah, I'm not worried for Amazon. Amazon's going to figure it out. I mean, they'll tap Jeff Bezos to build us a new port there in Baltimore or something.
Exactly.
You know,
So, speaking of Baltimore, though, and bridges and road trips, are you doing anything for the eclipse? Did we talk about this? We talked about it a little bit,
we did talk about it a little bit. I would have if
and it's next
it's
weekend.
hard. Yeah, it's hard to get Aaliyah in a car for extended
Right,
period
right,
of time.
right.
So we're just gonna cool our heels
See what you
here.
can see from your space.
Yeah. If it's cloudy here, maybe we'll drive out a little bit. I'm taking the afternoon off, so um,
Gotcha.
we'll see
That
what
sounds
happens.
cool.
And yeah,
We're heading up to Oswego, which
just outside of.
yeah, it's essentially, it's funny because I actually thought we were going to Buffalo and we were going to be on Lake Erie, but no, we're going to Oswego and we're going to be on Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty significant difference. But it's interesting that the eclipse is passing perfectly over both lakes.
Yes.
So pretty psyched about that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm excited about the eclipse. That's going to be really cool.
yep,
I think I was kind of in the same position last time the eclipse came across the United States. The total eclipse that came in 2017. I was in Arlington. If I was living in West Virginia at that time, I would have been in the totality, but I was just outside of it.
gotcha.
But
Well, I know that Trump said that the eclipse is a sign for him
yeah, it's
to
time for him to
send.
put on glasses.
I forgot about that entirely.
Dumbass staring up at.
Maybe we can get that done again. I mean, Jesus, that guy is so much like a walking model of oppositional defiant. Somebody said, "Oh, you can't look at the eclipse straight in the eye." I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah,
But
I
it
don't
will
I
be
don't
worth
get
it,
it.
Sean.
Fulton
Now,
May.
I am interested in seeing two. Like, I've never been in any form of eclipse, nothing, and I've heard that it's just amazing.
I was
So,
in one in Albuquerque back in probably 91, 92 time frame. It was, man, I think maybe I was right after I graduated high school. I was working downtown at an internship, and it came about noon, so I took off and went downtown and got to look at it through, like these almost welding glasses.
yeah,
It was really cool. So I've seen it. I'm disappointed that I won't be able to see the totality, but I'm excited that it's happening and a lot of people are getting experience and turning their eyes somewhere other than the internet, their cell phones, their
right.
you know experiencing something that is otherworldly. So um, I hope everyone's got a plan and is close to the totality. I know that not everybody's going to be that fortunate this time, but you know, it's such a almost once in a lifetime thing that it's take
Right,
advantage of it whenever you can. Because there's
right,
two different kinds of eclipses. There is the one that we're going to be experiencing this time, which is a totality where the moon is close enough to us that it will cover the sun, creating
right,
a corolla effect. And then there's the other one where the moon is a little bit further away, and there's still a little bit of sun that goes around the outside.
right.
So this one is a total eclipse of the heart.
Turn around.
Turn around, bright eyes.
All right. So we invoked he who shall not be named. Any exciting political news this week?
Yeah, man. a little closer to home with us. So I will tell you the Libertarian Party's been having a real one this week. The LNC's had a lot of things. So a couple weeks ago, Angela McCarter, chair of the Libertarian Party, had gone on Karen Ann Harless's podcast and it said that she's turned the finances around of the Libertarian Party, that she should be reelected. And not less than I think it was like 3 days later, there's Todd Hagopian, the chair of or the treasurer of the Libertarian National Committee, requesting an emergency meeting. We saw the FEC filing for the LNC come out on I think Sunday, and they're bleeding resources. They 10% of their cash reserves gone in a month, um, and not only that, um, Todd requests an emergency meeting because there's some stuff going on with the convention. They have not paid a lot of bills. They're not raising enough money off of the convention itself. They're not getting people buying packages.
Right.
Apparently, they haven't done a the down payment for the AV for the convention. You
Yeah.
have a big convention, you want to be able to broadcast it out to the people throughout the country for them to watch. That's
Yeah.
not been paid for. Is hey Hody, how you doing? Yes, happy Easter, happy Trans Day visibility for everyone.
One of the
Um,
really crazy things about that too is that they are, if they don't get a certain number of people to the convention, they end up having to pay even more.
yeah, because there's minimums at hotels that host these conventions. You have to buy a certain amount of food. You have to buy a certain amount of alcohol. You have to buy a certain
Exactly.
amount of rooms.
Yep.
I think they've got the rooms done, but the everything else, the packages, because you can go in all in and spend $500 and get a nice package where you're going to everything at the convention, maybe even more. I didn't look at the convention packages that they had,
Yeah, but that's
but
essentially it.
yeah, um, no one's buying them because you don't have to buy a convention package to attend. If you're a delegate, you get in. You're in. It doesn't matter um, what package you get, if you get no package. It just means
Right.
that you're not going to breakfast, you're not going to evening fundraisers, you're not going to any of the official activities. But there's plenty of stuff going on around town for you to enjoy yourself while you're in
Yeah,
Washington D.C.
DC's a major
So
city.
yeah,
And the other thing about it is that a lot of the quote unquote fundraisers are actually ways to, I don't want to say launder money, but to pass money through to the friends of the Mises Caucus because they invite all their own buddies to become speakers. And they say, oh, yeah,
yeah,
we'll pay you $5,000 out of the convention fund or $10,000. So
yeah.
all the money that you think you're paying isn't going towards making the party better. It's going towards enriching the pockets of friends and family.
Exactly. And why would you give money to an organization that is, as we've seen a couple weeks ago when we had the gentleman from Libertarian Party of Michigan on? They're using that money to sue other libertarians
Right.
to try and gin the game up so that they don't have a bunch of non-Mises people going to the convention representing the state of Michigan.
Yep.
Um, and how much money they've poured into lawsuits regarding the state party of Michigan, um, and they've just authorized another $5,000. Um, Jen Moore, 100%. This is why leaders should be appointed based on experience and qualifications instead of popularity contest by a correct pack.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's an interesting thing, too, in that they're trying to get a line of credit right now, right?
Yes.
When they've done
250,000.
right when the past LNC got a line of credit, which was kind of stupid too. And I speak to this a little bit. The LNC every election year needs to spend money on ballot access. Ballot
Yeah.
access is expensive. The convention makes money but a lot of money comes in early for the convention. So in the past, we've used the convention money to support ballot access where we needed to. Now, the problem with that is that people on the convention committee complained, "Oh, you shouldn't spend that. That's our money," which is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit petty because we'll always get the money. Now, they say sometimes that there have been conventions where the bills didn't get paid off because the LNC didn't have enough money. I don't recall that in recent memory, but I believe that it happened. Okay.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about some of the years where we didn't get a ton of votes, that those conventions, they didn't segregate the money, and that's why the money ended up being segregated for the convention fund, was that because they wanted to make sure that they were paying the convention bills, because you don't want to be owing money to contractors. You're not Donald Trump. You're not going to you're not going to say screw them. We're gonna just not pay
Right.
them.
Right.
But maybe
But
that is the goal of the current LNC, is to become like Donald Trump and just say screw the vendors.
but so what's interesting is though that the LNC is allowed to have a separate convention fund, and money
Yes.
that is donated into that fund can only be spent on the convention. However, generally the LNC puts everything into the general fund, unless it's specifically solicited for the other two funds that the LNC is legally allowed to have: the legal fund and the building fund.
Yep.
So if people specifically donate and say this is going towards a convention fund, then it couldn't be touched. However, the LNC has never done that. They've never had a big convention fund. So, on the other hand, the LNC needs to have the money that they have for ballot access. Ballot access, and ballot access has to be done early. I mean, it has to be done when it has to be done. So, I've always felt like the LNC should do what it needs to do to get the money for that. Now, in recent years, well, probably not this year, but in past years, who knows? The past two libertarian presidential campaigns have raised quite a bit of money
Yeah.
by libertarian standards.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Joe Jorgensen raised more money than any presidential candidate not named Gary Johnson. And that's pretty impressive because one of those other presidential candidates' last name was Koch.
Yeah.
And granted, the Kochs didn't raise that much money; they just had a lot of money. But still, um, we've gotten better at doing that sort of thing. I mean, mainly what it is it's about. It's a very good joke, Craig. I like it. I saw the Trump Bibles for sale. Um, it, Money's meant to be fungible, but
I love that
maybe
quote.
what the LNC should do is say, when you're buying your ticket, we have a special thing for everybody who donates to ballot access, and make it part of the package or something like that, instead of taking the money away from what the Convention Oversight Committee can legitimately consider their money. On the other hand, I'm not 100% convinced that big physical conventions make the most sense for us either. When in reality, the technology is there to do an online convention. And we could just ask everybody, instead of buying a package for $500, how about you donate $500 to the presidential campaign? There's going to be 1,000 delegates there. We just say that each one was going to give $100. That would mean 100 times 1,000.
How
That
about another online convention, Dan?
Well, that's what I'm thinking is the right thing to do. But do it legitimately, set it up the right way.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing about it. It would be harder to do, but I don't want to take credit for this. But Joe Dean from California said, for people who don't know, the way the Libertarian Party sends delegates is that the state has a bunch of delegates and alternates who go. And the alternates are allowed to vote if a delegate isn't on the floor, or if a delegate didn't make it to the convention. That system has never been enforced physically at a convention. We had in 2018 in
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans, at the Massachusetts delegation, we had Jeff Lyons, who is the most eligible straight bachelor in the libertarian movement. Women love him. He was my campaign manager when we ran statewide campaign in Massachusetts. 25% of the emails we got were, "Tell me more about your campaign manager, Jeff." Ridiculous.
What am I, chopped
Uh,
liver?
so lots of, but as a result, lots of women would come by and sit at our table and chat to Jeff while the convention was going on, and they would vote while they were there. Were they supposed to be able to voting? Did like a delegate and alternate fill a seat at their state convention? Nobody ever really cared, and it's a
Oh,
problem. So we should be doing electronic voting at the bare minimum.
sure.
And what Joe Dean said is have all your delegates and all your alternates ranked. So Maryland, for example, gets 19 delegates. So let's just say that we bring 30 people to the convention and we have them ranked in order 1 through 30. Then the first 19, so if you're ranked 1, your vote counts. If you're ranked 2, your vote counts. If 3, your vote doesn't count. 4, your vote counts, whatever. 3, you don't vote. Maryland gets 19 votes on every ballot because all the alternates vote. And if you're 24, your vote's probably not going to count unless 6 people didn't vote who were supposed to. But it's a great way to get 100% participation for your state, which is a really good thing. Secondly, Hawaii and Alaska have never sent a full delegation of their own state members, which blows for them, right? But it's a huge financial commitment. So
Absolutely.
We should do the online convention. I kind of like what Kentucky did last time, where they had a state convention, but then everybody voted online. That's what they did for 2020.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good idea. You get everybody together in the same room. It's not that hard to do. It's harder for California, but California could split it up into 4 different districts. I think California has 108 delegates. So, split them up however you want.
Yes.
Doing it all online saves the party money. It's time to do that sort of thing.
But yeah, the convention, the convention though is a growing concern for the Libertarian Party right now because 1, they're underfunded. 2, they are hemorrhaging cash at the national level. And 3, the contracts are going to come due. And this board has proven that not only can they not raise money, like they just they don't do it. The board members, like when I was on the LNC, we were making calls to donors to say thank you for doing it. I could do that's the only thing I could do was call donors and thank them. But other people, I mean, Valerie Sarwark raised like $18,000 for the affiliate support committee just to be able to send out these affiliate in a box things that we had worked on in the affiliate support committee. That was just her getting out there dialing for dollars. And Angela McCardle posted one day, I raised $84. Like Joe was bringing in money hand over fist. I mean, he was raising tons of money for the party. But this takeover has driven off the major donors, driven off the major activists.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It drove off the people who actually want to do the work.
Know how to do the work, too.
Yeah. The one thing that actually is the unifying experience is getting out there and doing the work, doing the ballot access work, doing the fundraising work, doing all the stuff that isn't, getting to meet your favorite libertarian idol and have dinner with
podcaster. Like
exactly. And
if you guys see me at the 2024 Libertarian Convention, walking the halls or whatever, say hi. That's great. I love talking to people, but don't come to TC just to see me. Like come to DC to do work if you want to do work. I'm just going to be there as a.
I will say that I think there is a 20% chance I might be at the convention, which is up 25% from a month ago. So
I'm going to be around. I think that weekend I'm not going to be.
Craig,
I probably won't go into the room.
it is physically impossible for
No,
the LP to get 50 state ballot access.
no, because one, I mean, outside of Bill Redpath, and God love him, he's a phenomenal
Right.
ballot access guru. Um, they don't have the people that can, hell,
But
they're going to have enough problems in Bill's home state as is getting on the ballot.
but they
Um,
yeah and also there are some states where ballot access,
Tennessee,
libertarian ballot access, is controlled by a group that the LNC kicked out.
yep,
So, for example, in New Mexico, uh, ballot access is controlled by Chris Lucchini and his party. In Massachusetts, ballot access is controlled by Chris Crawford and her version of the Libertarian Party. Both
yep.
of those state Libertarian parties were kicked out of the LNC. Michigan, what about in Pennsylvania? Jen Moore, can you give us an idea if there's
No,
going to be, what do you know?
uh, they already had their convention. The competent people in Pennsylvania have left. They formed Kevin Gahn formed the Liberal Party.
Yeah,
That's his startup. Yeah, they had done the Keystone Party. Then I think they moved to the Liberal Party. Um, I think there are going to be people
but
there
I'm
that are
wondering,
going
do
to.
they have ballot access?
Yeah, it's easier for ballot access. Well, it's 5,000 signatures, I think, for ballot
Okay,
access in Pennsylvania. They can do it. It's again, for the Libertarian Party, it is not just having the money to do it, but having the people to do it. And
yep,
you drove away the experience. You drove away the people that really gave a shit. There are still some people there, but I just don't know that there's enough left to get. Pennsylvania is going to be a huge one. And that if the number is 5,000 to get for signatures there in Pennsylvania, you're going to have to get 10,000. You're going to have to get 15,000 because the Republicans and Democrats are going to work way overtime to kick you off the ballot, challenge every one of your signatures, challenge everything that you've done. Um, and again, I just don't know that they've got the people to do it that are committed to getting those signatures and getting that party on the ballot for the 2024 election. And the people that are there, because that is kind of the grand central station of a lot of the Mises caucus. Um, I'm not convinced that that's their whole plan is to keep them off the ballot in Pennsylvania because it is such a swing state. Um,
yep.
you know, Hody, who's joined us tonight, did a great show with a couple of Mises folks talking about he says that he thinks that it's more of just incompetence rather than an actual uh, dive job uh, as to what was happened with the Mises infection of the Libertarian Party. Um, I will still maintain that if you were going to intentionally tank a party, it would not look much more different than what we see right now. Um, the money is being siphoned out, um, essentially to the chair of the party, who has not only taken on chair, but she's also she fired the executive director and has taken on that role as well. She's hired her uh,
Baby dad,
baby
baby
daddy
daddy
as a fundraising director.
at
He's
eight
still getting
thousand
over.
dollars a month.
Yeah, it was a massive contract for him to do this job, and we're
They
seeing
have
the
paid,
results. It's not working.
they have paid him more money than they've spent on ballot access.
They paid him more money, and I think they paid him more money than they're bringing in. Um,
Well,
that's
not more than they're bringing in overall. They're paying him
overall,
$8,000 a month.
but I don't
They're
think he's
bringing in
bringing
like
in.
$90,000 a month right now.
I don't think he's bringing in. I don't think he's bringing in anything. Like,
No, he
what is
got
he
he
bringing in as a fundraiser? That's the question. If they're
no.
falling well
There's
short,
Yeah, and they cooked the books to do it too. So
yeah,
there is a donor who will give the Libertarian Party a max donation every year. I'm not going to say his or her name, but people can look it up on the FEC report. There's only one $41,000 donor last year. That donor will give the money whenever the LNC asks him to. no matter what. It's just he's got $41,000 to give, and he'll do it every year. So traditionally, we'll use it at a time and place where we need $41,000 to spend on something. In this case, the chair said, okay, let me hire my baby daddy and then tell this donor, now we need the $41,000. So that now the books are cooked and it looks like that guy brought in that much money. He was hired, blah, blah, blah. Now we've completed the 90-day turnaround. But in reality, it's complete bullshit. And actually, it's even more bullshit because that donor normally donates much more than $41,000 because he or she makes a donation to the legal fund and to the not to the
Building.
convention fund, to the building fund. So, that donor is usually good for a lot more. And sometimes members of that donor's family also donate maximum donations. Then none of that happened. So, all that being said, they're in a terrible situation. It's 60 days, right?
Yeah.
Till convention.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 something. It's interesting. The chair, Mark Rutherford's chair, is the aforementioned Jeff Lyons, and he is going to stay with me for convention.
Nice.
And they actually have a plan already. If they win, they have a 100-day plan of all the things that they're going to do to try to fix stuff. And it's a pretty good plan. I don't think that they'll get the opportunity to do it, but maybe they will. Maybe these
I don't know. I'm hoping
terrible
that.
people are exhausted from being so terrible.
Yeah, I mean, because the LNC has descended into kicking members out of executive sessions that deserve to be there, that are the legal representation of the areas of the party. That one is in, I think, the Michigan area, and one's down in the Louisiana,
Yeah.
representing the a sizable number of libertarians, but they're kept out of these conversations because um, essentially, Adrian Malagon has decided that he doesn't like them,
Yeah.
and all he does is hurl insults. Like, that is his only job in the LNC right now.
Well, and what's crazy about it is he and the party, we talked about, I had a long talk about this with Nick Sarwark yesterday. And we talked about, what would be involved to take things back? What would we do to bring things back? And one of the things we talked about, what prevents them from coming back, is you have to make the party be a place that they don't feel welcome. And in order to do that, we need to embrace the things that they're trying to get the hang of when they talk about a liberal party. Okay, the idea of complete tolerance, of no acceptance of bigotry, and this is a big deal for me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready to accept people who voted to remove the bigotry plank.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to accept people who compromised along the way to remove the bigotry plank, because that wasn't worth it. Okay? There's a lot of people who said, oh, you know what? We're going to have to compromise because the one they want to get is so much worse. No, that's bullshit. That's the thing that you stand up for and say, no, on this line, I don't budge. Because guess what? They got everything. They got everything. And so having, like a 5% better than the worst bigotry plank that they could have. I mean, the other plank they were going to have is, we endorse bigotry as a valid political option.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not much better than what they have right now. Or what they have right now isn't much better than that. So what we want to do is, in the beginning, say, listen, this is who we are. We are a party that recognizes the fact that the woke movement is identifying real issues Do we believe that government should be solving them? No, we don't think government should be solving DEI. We don't think government should be solving these things. However, we do think that embracing diversity, embracing inclusion is a responsible and nice thing to do, and that people ought to strive for that in their personal lives. We're not going to force anybody to do that thing, but we want to be a party of nice people. And nice people say, yeah, we recognize the fact that the world is more interesting when we have different viewpoints and different colors and different shapes and sizes. And we have a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And you can't have that if you're not including the people. If you're only including my people, that's not government. That's not a system that we can live with. And so, if the Libertarian Party is to be reborn, if it is to come back, it has to do so in a way that says, bigots, you are not welcome. Transphobes, you are not welcome. Pro-life people, if you want to say, I am very strongly pro-life, and I would like to convince you as to why I'm right, we welcome that. We welcome that sort of discussion in our party.
Yeah.
Okay. On the other hand, if you're going to say, I believe that we should take a small minority or a small majority and force other people to do with their bodies what we see as fit, that's not okay.
Exactly.
Okay? We are about persuasion and not about coercion. And so that part of the party, that's got to go. So bring back the abortion plank, because the previous abortion plank said, we believe that abortion is an issue of conscience, and as such, remain silent on it. Yeah. Something to that end. And on bigotry, we said we consider bigotry to be irrational and repugnant. If there really is a 2/3 majority, and if I'm on the floor, I'm going to move that we adopt the platform from 2019.
2020.
Yeah, 2020, 100%. And then we can rework it after that. So you know what? That one was better than this one. Let's roll all that stuff back. Same thing for the bylaws. Same thing for every document that got changed.
Yes.
Let's roll all
we would
back.
restore the suspension of Karen Ann Harlow's.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, fuck yeah. Let's resuspend her. We're going to reinstate that suspension. No. Oh, it could be trivia time.
It's almost trivia time.
All right. The last thing, Carol, are you coming to convention? It would be great to see you again in person. Are you really, Sean? That's exciting. Do you know if anybody else is running? I know Mercedes. I can't remember her last name.
Damertowski.
Damertowski is also running. Between the two of you, I look forward to voting for both of you and not Karen Ann. Sean, you would be an excellent choice. Sean, people who don't know, I know Sean well. He's served the Libertarian Party of Maine honorably and with distinction. Maine's a state where it's hard to get ballot access. Sean has done a great job of being one of the people who's organized Maine in the past. So I will say that I know Mercedes as well. I don't know if Mercedes is truly running or if she's still in stealth mode or if she's not running. But I would happily endorse both of you. See what happens.
I would not to be insulting or anything. I would endorse a ham sandwich over Karen Ann Harlow's. But to have someone competent, that's like gravy. I mean, like that is beautiful. Please, we need competent people that are ready to step up.
Yeah.
I mean, I still honestly believe that the party is fatally flawed at this point.
I agree.
But their infrastructure is fatally flawed. I really don't feel like I want to build a brand new party. Like I think I hope that the Liberal Party is a success. I think any third party, I'd love to have them be a success just because we need more than these. We see what the other two parties are producing right now on the regular as far as candidates.
So
we need new voices. My God.
So this is the argument that that somebody made to me. Imagine your all-star LNC. So the at-larges are all former chairs. We're not going to have Nick Sarwark because, you know, Nick's so divisive, right? Nothing rallies Mises more than Nick. And he recognizes that as well. But let's take the other former chairs. Jim Lark, Bill Redpath, Jeff Neal, Whitney Houston. No, not Whitney Houston. She lives in Houston. Whitney Billieu. Sorry. The whoever. Regional people that you can really respect, right? The great names in libertarianism. Let's say that we get them all elected. And then the argument is, you know what? The LNC may be fatally flawed. But what we've done is we have assembled a dream team. And if the LNC is going to go down, it's going to go down with a fight from the best punch that we can throw.
Sure.
And so let's get people together to do that one last thing. And then we'll know. We'll know.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a compelling argument, but
I hope that does happen. I don't wish the LNC on anybody.
Yeah.
I really don't wish, you know, I like Mark Rutherford. I think he's a great guy.
Yep.
And anybody else who's running for chair, I don't wish what they're going to inherit on anybody, because it is going to be it's going to be a struggle. Do I think they're going to have to sell the headquarters? I really do.
Selling the headquarters doesn't do you any good.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what other cash cow that they have that would.
But they can't use that money for anything else.
Oh, that's right.
They can't spend it on salaries. They can't spend it on anything. They can only spend it on building things. Maybe you could. I mean, here's an interesting thing.
We're in a shack in the middle of Mississippi.
Well, what I was going to say is that you could spend it on home offices for
yes,
right. Right, crypto whales, right? Exactly.
Ahoy!
Right. I will say, let's skip that part. Selling the building though doesn't gain you any money, because that money goes back into the building fund.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
yeah. There's lots of stuff to look at with.
It's interesting. So the last thing I said though is that I do like the fact that the Rutherford team has 100-day plan.
Yeah.
That's a good plan. With any luck, that'll mean Jeff Lyons will be hanging out with me for 100 days, because I like hanging out with that dude.
Well, there you go.
We'll see.
I mean, there are some positive news that you hear from different states where, either the Mises folks aren't bringing enough to, they don't have enough to fill their state delegations, like in Colorado, right. Michigan, where there's a lawsuit now,
right,
electing a majority of non-Mises people as their delegates.
Right.
But I also think that there are two ways this can go. The financial strain becomes too much for the people in the LNC, and they just bug out, and they just cut it off at the 11th hour, and they just take off. That's a possibility. There's the other possibility that they're going to get this $250,000 line of credit, and they're going to do everything they can to siphon that off into their bank account, and then just take off. Then
that's happening anyway.
Yeah.
They are spending money on their friends and family.
Yep.
And it's terrible. The only thing, that's the part of it that I don't know. And
it's the hardest part. Like everybody, most of the people here have put in years of service into the Libertarian Party, thousands of dollars into the Libertarian Party in some cases. And to see within 2 years, just the dismantling.
Dude, I quit my job. I quit my job in Massachusetts, came down here, and took essentially a 60% pay cut to become the executive director, because I was committed to the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And to that, kids, don't quit your job to go work for the Libertarian Party for 60% less than what you're making. That's just a dumb idea.
Well, I mean, when you're not making any money and then you find a way to funnel a bunch of that LNC money into your bank account,
That's
then,
terrible. Terrible.
All right, time for the news quiz. Time to see
Yay.
whose big face we're gonna see my big face for a moment. I'm sorry, everybody. I apologize. CNN Weekly News Quiz for March 24th, 2020 or 28th, 2024. So everything that's happened on Friday and Saturday and today are not part of this quiz. Everything that happened for that and from last
Can
week,
you
Thursday.
stack us vertically instead of horizontally?
I can. It shrinks up the screen a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is better though because the other way you can't see
All right.
the options when it comes through.
All right. Well, let's take a look at our. There's phone. There is Finn Gael, the new Prime Minister of Ireland, was announced, and then of course the
Wow,
Baltimore
I didn't know
Bridge.
that, dude.
Yeah, the youngest Prime Minister in the history of Ireland, like 35 or something like that.
Wow, that's
They
awesome.
replaced an incredibly young guy too.
Yeah.
But yeah, question number one: which city was rocked this week by a major bridge collapse? We talked about that earlier. Cool.
Well, now the thing is, of course, that we know the answer to that, but let's talk about the pronunciation. How do you say the name of that city?
I say Baltimore, but it is Balmer. Like I've got
Balmer.
friends from Baltimore that will just say Balmer.
Right. It's like the owner of the L.A.
BALMER.
the owner of the L.A. Clippers, Steve Ballmer.
Yeah, Steve Ballmer. Yeah, but
All
yeah,
right.
off to a good start. Question number two: the Supreme Court will soon decide the future of which medication? Adderall, Ozempic, Paxlovid, or mifepristone? I know this one.
I know
Uh,
this one
oh,
too. I
care
wrote
about
a
the
long article about it. We're going to let and see if somebody else gets in
yeah?
here.
See if somebody in the if you know the answer, throw it in the chat, and we'll be happy to
Yeah.
share it. Uh, but yeah,
And see, this is what's stupid though is that even CNN is framing this question poorly because it's not really about a specific medication. It's about whether or not meds can be sold by mail. Carol says Ozempic. Craig says the M word. I think Craig is right.
oh, that's
Millepristone, Sean.
it does sound like antifreeze,
Exactly. I
mifepristone.
was going to say that's a good joke, Sean. Prestone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Millepristone. I would point people to go over to let.live and read the article that we wrote about this. This issue is much larger than mifepristone. It's whether or not being able to obtain drugs, which lots of people get a lot of drugs via prescription, via mail order prescription.
yeah.
And
VA does tons of mail order.
exactly. This bill essentially is designed to make veterans' lives miserable.
Yeah, because I
Um,
mean, if not only veterans' lives, but the people who work at the VA, yeah, we want to help veterans, but if you've got thousands of veterans every day coming into the pharmacy to pick up prescriptions, making them drive from like if you're in New Mexico, if you're in Portales, New Mexico, you got to drive 250 miles to get to the Albuquerque VA Medical Center.
right.
Um, that's just an absolute hardship on these veterans, and so
Well, right. And, the idea that you can't, well, part of what they want to do is they want to say that you can't have an out of state doctor prescribe your meds. And that's sort of where they're trying to get at this is that a lot of women are getting mifepristone prescriptions from out of state doctors, even though they live in states where, abortion has been restrained.
yes, and again, if you are a veteran, the VA prescription services in I think in Georgia.
Yeah.
So unless you're in Georgia,
Yeah.
you're screwed. Like I
Yeah.
just don't understand it.
Yeah.
All
Sean,
right.
it's entirely possible that it might mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Not being able to use the Amazon pharmacy. Yeah. The way that they cover drugs now is just so convoluted.
Government is
But
screwed.
yeah. All right. Question number 3: millions of people around the world celebrated Holi this week, also known as the Festival of Colors. What are the celebrations? Where are the celebrations most popular? China, India, Brazil, or Nigeria? Holi is the name of it. Holi. I know the answer to this one.
I mean, I don't know for a fact, but Carol says India. I
And she is
agree with
right.
Carol. Yeah.
Yes, vibrant Hindu festival celebrated by millions of people around the world, with many large-scale gatherings taking place across India. All right, question number 4: which airline may have to put some of its expansion plans on hold after a string of recent flight mishaps? American, Delta, Southwest, or United?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's United
Uh, it's got to be United,
because
right?
of the door falling off.
The door falling
Right.
off, the fact that they break guitars. People who don't know what I'm talking about, Google
Oh yeah.
United breaks guitars.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've seen some of those. Just, I feel for those guys.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go United. Craig says United as well, and it is United. After nearly a dozen incidents on flights this month, damn, United may have temporarily prevented from adding new routes as the FAA is increasing oversight of the troubled airline.
Yep.
Fix your shit.
Yep. 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 I mean, somebody talked about the fact that I was listening on NPR. United had 8 flights go bad that like had to be redirected or something like that in the last month out of 100,000. So, and you know, none of them were crashes or fatal or anything like that, but they had to land, something like that. So, United could definitely be better. I'm happy that our tolerance is low, but well, this is interesting because you said his age was
Yeah, I thought he was 35. I
35.
would, looking back at the context clues, there's a lot of gray hair, and not to say that gray hair doesn't happen in younger dudes. I am gonna say 37, but I'll be open to anybody on the
I
floor.
also like 37, even though usually you're right, it's one extreme or the other. I don't think he's 22, and I
No,
doubt that
he's
he's
definitely not
25.
22. Um, yeah, I think
And
he's
we don't think he's
37.
45, so it's got to be the older of those two.
Yeah,
I like 37.
37.
Nice
Governing party
job.
has named 37-year-old Simon Harris as its new leader of
You mean
the.
Simon has no Harris? Sorry.
Wow, wow. Craig
That's
and
not even
and
not
Carol
even a good
both
joke.
got it.
Good job,
Way
Craig
to
and
go!
Carol.
All right, question number 6. After more than 140 years under construction, which famous landmark is expected to be completed in 2026?
The
The
Francis Scott Key
Colosseum.
Bridge.
No, I think it's gonna be like 2030 for that. Um, Colosseum, Leaning Tower of Pisa, Louvre, or the Sagrada Familia.
I have no idea,
I
but
don't
I
either.
would guess the Louvre just
Has it been under
because.
construction for 140 years?
Well, I mean, they recently did right Pace Pyramid,
Yeah,
um, so they've added stuff to it. I mean, it can't be the Colosseum, can't be the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
yeah.
So Carol says Sagrada Familia. I don't know. I'm going with the Louvre, but she says it's the church. She sounds very confident.
All
In
right,
this
Sagrada
case,
Familia it is.
yeah, I was going to say I think we should go
Correct.
with Carol. Nice job, Carol.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, that's the Barcelona. Isn't the Notre Dame almost rebuilt as well in
No, it
France?
will not be open for the Olympics.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's what they were
So
hoping for.
Yeah, the
But
famous Sagrada Familia in Barcelona is set to become the world's tallest church once construction is completed in 2026. Wow,
Barcelona,
Barcelona.
Barcelona.
All
All
right,
right,
question number 7. Which state passed a new law banning children under the age of 14 from having their own social media accounts?
got to be
California,
Florida.
Florida, Texas, or Georgia?
I mean, if it's authoritarian, it's Florida.
Nothing says authoritarian. Well, I mean,
Although
I'll,
California is very authoritarian as well.
yes, I mean there's different angles of authoritarianism.
But
Um,
California is like all Silicon Valley. And so I don't think they would ban social media. California will go the other way and require children under the age of 14 to have social
Florida.
media accounts. Carol
Carol
also
says
says Florida.
Florida. I think it's Florida.
Sean says Texas, but I think it's Florida too.
Oh, Florida.
Yeah,
I mean Texas does the dumb thing too, but
yeah,
I think Florida is kind of there's like a race to do the dumbest thing. It's like those people in Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. There's a race to do the dumb thing every day, and who does the most dumb and outlandish thing gets the most headlines, and then raises a bunch of money off of it. So um, the states are doing the same thing. Florida's trying to do the dumb thing. Um,
right.
uh, you know, essentially, I'm wondering what happens. Are they doing some kind of age check verification? Because I know, like, there's been several states that have outlawed porn for a certain age, and the biggest website when it comes to porn is Pornhub, and all they do is just shut it off for that state and let people learn about virtual private networks. So, OnlyFans is being banned in Texas for age requirements. Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm going to start a OnlyFlans for Mexican dessert dishes.
nice. That could be a new Libertarian Party caucus too.
OnlyFlans, yeah.
Yeah,
Question number 8: which iconic movie prop recently sold at auction for more than $700,000? Ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz, floating wood panel from the Titanic, the flying bike from E.T. the Extraterrestrial, or DeLorean sports car from Back to the Future.
I have
I actually
no
saw
idea.
I saw the story on it, and I'm like,
That's
and you
interesting.
can see the context clue. You can see the context clue.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look red enough to be the ruby slippers. Maybe it would be the wood panel, the right color. I can't imagine the bike would sell
Just
because
think,
that's also
just think at the bow of the ship.
all right. You say Titanic.
It is the Titanic wood door.
All right. Let's see. No, but
See,
the
you can
wood the
tell
wood
the.
panel the wood panel is not the bow of the ship. The
No,
wood
I'm just
panel
saying you
is
can see it because this is the scene there at the
oh,
bow of
got you.
the ship.
I see. I see. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And I loved
Hotly debated
Kate
president
Winslet from that
Obama.
movie on. All right, question number 9: who did independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. name as his running mate? Attorney and tech entrepreneur Nicole Shanahan, NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers, former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, or former television host Mike Rowe?
I know this one.
I know this one, and so this was a another thing. So they asked Chair Angela McArdle about this, and she said um, she didn't like this pick. It doesn't make sense in libertarian terms, and it's like because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not a libertarian. Stop
Yeah,
trying to make that happen.
right.
RFK Jr. as a libertarian candidate is never.
Carol has it up
I
there.
certainly hope it never happens, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past these fools. Yeah, she has the deepest pockets. She was once married to Sergey Brin, the one of the Google guys, I guess. I can't remember what he was.
Sergey Brin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they
Got
split up because she had a one night stand with Elon Musk.
the Elon Musk, which
Takes all sorts.
yeah, it does, but I don't know. Like it's an interesting choice, and I think he went more liberals just to because she is a fair. She gives money to Democrats. She's more on the left side. I think this is a targeted attack on Biden um, by the Trump campaign. I think he's really put Kennedy up to doing this, and because he wants to siphon off those votes. I just don't know that Democrats are going to really rally to
No, I don't
Robert
think
F.
so.
Kennedy.
I don't think so. He thinks that Robert Kennedy is Joe Jordan, but Joe Jorgensen. And of course, Joe Jorgensen didn't actually siphon any votes off either. But
Exactly.
Trump thinks that Joe Jorgensen made him lose. Um,
Well, I mean, I would own that if it was true. I would be like, hell yes, we caused Trump to lose because Trump's an idiot.
yeah,
But that's a different story.
yeah.
All right, question number 10. Which food item will be added to McDonald's menus? Cinnabon cinnamon rolls, Krispy Kreme donuts, Wendy's frosty dessert, or Starbucks cake pops?
I know this.
You do.
Yes, it is the official donut of Krusty the Clown.
Krispy Kremes?
Krispy
What?
Kremes, indeed.
What? Carol got it
Yep,
as well.
yep.
Very nice.
It's true. I
Krispy
am
Kremes.
excited to. I like Krispy Kremes. I actually think that their flagship donut is not their best donut.
Oh, I
Um,
love I love a yeast donut.
do Have you had them do they have
Hot now?
Krispy Kremes near you?
Hot now? Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
There's
gonna
one in
say. So you get
Hagerstown that we brought Aaliyah back from a medical appointment on Tuesday. We grabbed a couple of Krispy Kreme donuts because
nice.
um yeah, they were the hot now sign was on. You got to do it. I mean, I'm like a mosquito with one of those bug zappers. Hot now donuts. Like, beep.
Yeah,
So, all right, 10 out of 10.
yeah, that's really
10
good.
out of 10.
Son, you got a panty on your
We
head.
do have a panty on our head.
It's pretty exciting.
All right. So, yeah, interesting week this week. Hopefully, I think more news will shake out about the LNC this week. Um, there seems to be a lot of dissension amongst the ranks, but I will put it to you this way. Let me clear this off here again.
Yeah,
All right. So I'm going to put it to you this way. There's been people saying, credit to Todd Agopian for putting out this report. Credit to these people. There are some decent people in the LNC. Mark Tunowitz, Beth Best, Bill Redpath. They're great people. People have been sounding the alarms about what's going on. Um, but if I wouldn't give credit to folks who have remained silent over 22 months of their 24-month term. And for now sounding the alarm. The alarm the we've watched with horror as the money gets siphoned away, as the decisions about Angela McArdle's hiring practices of not only her baby daddy but taking the executive director gig as well as being chair. Like there's no redundancy there. Um, if you are going to DC to quote unquote save this party, the people that are sitting on that board right now that have Mises tags by their name that have been endorsed by the Mises caucus, they can't return. You can't. We'll just have a couple of them because there are a couple where we're okay. No, they all got to go.
yeah,
You gotta ship them out because you're not going to be able to save the party if you continue to have this infection. Sometimes you have to cut out everything, cut out the infection to begin to heal, and this is an infection of the LP that needs to be cut out so that the LP can begin to heal, if it can begin to heal. It may be too late. I really do think it is a fundamentally and fatally flawed organization at this point. Um, but if you believe in the LP and you want to see the LP succeed in the future, And I do want to see a third party succeed in the future because, again, we see what the two main parties have been giving us. Then you've got to cut out the infection. That's all I'm saying with the LP. It doesn't mean holding like McCarthy style purges. Have you ever been or are you a member of the Mises Caucus? To the rank and file members, no, it doesn't mean that. It means the people that have held leadership positions within the Mises Caucus, who have held leadership positions within the LP, that have presided over this dumpster fire, have got to go. You can't bring them back. So that's what I'm talking about. Hopefully, it happens in DC. I'm just not overly confident that it will because I think that they're going to be able to gin the rules enough in and throw this convention and continue to rule with an iron fist of the party. And if that is the outcome of this next convention, get out, go, get. There's no good being associated with the party at this point.
I agree.
There are many other avenues for you to. I talked to Kyle Varner this week when I talked about this release, and Kyle, he's much more, purge of them all. I get that,
Yeah.
but he's like, I've been far more productive outside of the Libertarian Party auspices, doing my own thing than I ever was in the Libertarian Party. There are other avenues out there, and that's the thing that we've been doing with this show over the last 2 years is trying to provide you with as many avenues to put your efforts into, whether it's Let Live or any of the other parties that have come on, the Pirate Party or this new Liberal Party. We've had the Keystone Party on before. We've had forward people on before. Find another avenue because the avenue that is the Libertarian Party will be closed if the Mises Caucus takes over or continues to run the LP into the ground. Especially, do not give it any money.
Do not give them money.
Yeah, that's pissing into the wind at this point. Don't give them money until this conquest of the Libertarian Party has been thwarted and the sane people are back in charge. So anyway, that is the show this week. We will talk to you all next Sunday on the political deep dive. I'm not sure what we're doing next week. Dan, you got a topic you want to tackle?
Well, first of all, I won't be here.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be traveling.
I'll be on the eclipse. So, traditionally, what a lot of people do on eclipses is to sacrifice virgins. So, I think a good topic would be bodily autonomy.
Bodily autonomy. Oh,
Yes.
that would be a good one. Yes. Don't sacrifice virgins.
Don't sacrifice virgins.
Not
Don't
without
even
consent.
ask people
Not
if they
without
are
consent.
virgins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Not without
That means
consent. And be age appropriate, please.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie. Y'all have a great one. We will talk to you all next week.
Like, click, and subscribe. Share with your friends.
Yes,
Thanks
absolutely.
for those of you who've been promoting us.
Yes. Appreciate it.
Craig did a really nice shout out for the show before we started.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. And we will talk to you all next week. Bye.